Armed American Radio's Daily Defense, the Garbage Day edition, begins right now on a Wednesday for you. Mark Walters in the CZ studios, filling your prescription for freedom here in front of this Patriot Mobile microphone. Got the Patriot Mobile hat on today. Yes, at the Patriot Mobile Ranch. Greg in Dallas, Texas. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Here we are. It's a Wednesday.
It's a garbage day. It's hump day. Go over that.
Top of the hill day.
Go over that top of the hill, right? Get closer to your favorite day of the week.
That's right.
So, guys, we're live for you on YouTube today. We really want to push over to YouTube. Please, if you're a YouTube fan, you use YouTube, you subscribe over there, or don't. We want you to subscribe at Armed American Radio. We've gotten through just a host of milestones over there, and we do appreciate it very, very much. We appreciate your help and support. The numbers are growing, and we need you to continue to help us do that. So subscribe to Armed American Radio on YouTube. Like, comment, and share these live videos. You're seeing lots of videos going up during the day, cut up interviews, lots of fun stuff. And we will be doing during the breaks again today, Greg, just to let you know, guys, another Mark with guitars during the break, but you have to be watching in order to see it because it's not going to go out over the airwaves. And today we're going to be looking at this one sitting here behind me, and it's an awful lot of fun. So we'll do that. And if you miss it live, we'll have the video up for you later in the day. Greg, I'll let you do your rest of your deal. And for the other two locations in the chat, and we'll go right to Dr. John Lott.
Yeah, sure. While you're over there on YouTube, hit that like, subscribe, and be sure to turn notifications on so you know when Mark does go live, when the show's putting stuff out. You can head on over and give it a watch. We're also available on armedamericanradio.org or .com. Hit that menu icon and select your watch live or listen live option. Lastly, if you want to watch us over on X, it's at AAR Mark. To join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Bam, wow, Pam, Zumo. I don't know what that means, but let's just go
either.
to. I don't. How Zumo? I don't know.
Hi.
Dr. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. John, how are you? Welcome in, my friend.
Doing great. Great to talk to you again. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure. John, let's go to gun background checks. We're going to fly right by with John, ladies and gentlemen. The two segments with John are going to move right along. Then we're going to Google some gun control. Gun background checks are failing the wrong people. Commentary, real clear politics. John R. Lott Jr. You say you started out with the background check system for gun purchases is a mess. This appeared 2 days ago in Real Clear Politics. John, what's up?
Well, one thing you see all the time is when you have a Democratic president, the Republicans will attack them for not enforcing the gun control laws. And the number one example of that is the fact that you have all these denials, hundreds of thousands, in fact, up to 5.1 million denials now from the NICS background check system. And yet you see very few prosecutions. If you look at 2022 and 2023 together, you have about 250,000 denials that occurred during that time, but only 8 convictions. Not too many more even attempted prosecutions. And, these are very easy cases to go and bring. You have somebody who signed the 4473 form swearing under oath that they are not a prohibited person from buying a gun. They presented a government-issued photo ID in order to identify who they are. And these purchases are very frequently recorded on video. These are very easy cases to go and successfully bring and prosecute. And yet they don't bring them. And so the question is, why is that the case? And the problem is that, it's one thing to go and prosecute, let's say, a felon who tried to go and buy a gun through a licensed dealer. It's another thing to go and try to prosecute somebody simply because they have a roughly phonetically similar name and similar birthday to somebody who's prohibited. And, I've talked to people in the past who have worked in the Department of Justice, and, they'll say, look, we'd love to go and prosecute these cases, but they're not real cases. So, you can't go and prosecute somebody just because they have a similar name to somebody who you don't want to have. And then yesterday, Thomas Massey got unanimous support in the House, which is pretty unusual, to go and force the Department of Justice to finally put out the data on the errors in the system. Thomas had twice gotten promises from Christopher Wray when he was director of the FBI that they would release this data, and he reneged on the promises both times. From what I understand, from when I was working at the Department of Justice and people that I've talked to over the years, these errors are primarily concentrated on Black and Hispanic males. People tend to have names similar to others in their racial groups. Hispanics have names similar to Hispanics. Blacks tend to have names similar to other Blacks. The thing people may not understand is you have about 33% of Black males who have felony records, so they're prohibited from owning a gun. About 18% of Hispanic males have felony records, so they're prohibited. About 6% for whites, about 1.5% for Asians. And so, it's not too surprising then that you're going to have a lot more errors in terms of confusing roughly phonetically similar names and similar birthdays with Hispanic and Black males. And so in part because of that, basically all the Democrats in the House went along with all the Republicans yesterday and passed Thomas Massey's bill.
John, it says to me, let me go back to your comments about Christopher Wray. No friend of gun owners. I don't think that's a shock. But their refusal to release this information, to me, that speaks to this, that if they release the information, we're going to see what an utter failure the system is, and they don't want to shine a light on that because they're fundraising off of it like crazy, and they're trying to expand background checks. Am I onto something there? Or are they mutually exclusive of one another? It doesn't appear that way to me. It appears that that's why they don't release it, because the background check system is a failure.
Well, I mean, I had battles when I went to work. I mean, I think you're right. It's kind of hard to get in people's minds. I can just tell you that when I was in the Department of Justice, they fought tooth and nail against releasing this data. And in part because of that, Thomas Massey, who serves on the Judiciary Committee, twice in public, in testimony, got Christopher Wray to promise to work with Thomas's office to go and find out. Because when you fill out the 4473, you put down your sex, you put down your race, you have all sorts of other information there. It's very easy for them to go and say, okay, well, we know the number of people who are denied. We know the number of people who are denied who are of different races or sexes. And so they could tell you what percent of the denials are Black males or Hispanic males. And then the easy thing to do is just to say, okay, you dropped cases. You didn't prosecute them. Well, whose cases did you drop? Well, there are 5 stages of review that occur with this. The first stage of review is the National ATF office, with no lawyers involved, simply checks the paperwork. And about 93, 94% of the cases are dropped at that stage. The next stage is that the paperwork's sent out to the ATF field offices, and they go and check it again. And there are, no lawyers involved in the process. And another 2% or so of the cases are dropped at that point. So you have about 96% of the cases are dropped with no kind of legal judgments on whether they're good cases, whether they want to prosecute a particular case or not, but just are they who they say they are, okay? And are they prohibited people? And so, but the problem is that people aren't told that the cases were dropped. You have to go and hire a lawyer almost all the time. I mean, in theory, it might be possible for somebody to go and fight against this themselves. But the problem is that the process is complicated. The vast majority of people are going to have to hire a lawyer. You're talking about $3,000 on up is the cost. Mm-hmm. And so you have a situation where we've had 5.1 million denials that have occurred since 1998. And somebody may want to have a gun, But is it really worth $3,000 for them to go through the process to be able to go and correct a mistake that's not their fault?
Yeah, probably not, John. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Then I want to take you to some other numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, what countries have the most gun violence and why? And I think you'll find the way it's written interesting. I did. We'll be right back with John.